Welcome everybody.
Hello.
Joining joining us on another episode of Interesting AF. We're really excited because this is the first one where we're actually published. So yay us!
Yay! Also, we
Yeah.
have our voices back.
Yay! And we're
I've jinxed
not.
us, but
Yeah,
yay!
thanks. We,
We
how long
sound
will this
human again.
last? Maybe we should start polls. How long will it take them?
Over under. Over under
Over
on how
under.
long it'll take before we're sick again.
And why? I feel like
Yeah.
the why is
With
important.
with what? With
Though,
what?
to be fair, most of the time we don't know with what.
Accurate. Accurate.
Every
But,
time I
like,
go to
is it
my
gonna be
pediatrician,
cough? Is it
I
gonna be sinuses? Is it just gonna be generic cold?
fair, fair. Those are great. Like I love my pediatrician, but every time I go, they're like, "It's a virus." I'm like, "Which one?
No shit, Sherlock.
Which
Sorry, I love the medical
one?"
community. I would never disparage them like that.
No, but like it's true. I mean, they can only like it'll get like really. We work in that general like vicinity, and we understand that testing for everything sucks, and you can't test diagnose and stuff like that. But still, it's like with which one?
Yeah, be more specific or just give me the drugs to fix it immediately.
Exactly. Right now. Although they'll be like, well, with a virus.
No, I don't care. Make it then give me something bacterial so I can just knock it out of my system. Please and thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. Can the kids start giving us no, wait, we got
No,
pneumonia the
no.
last time. No, I'm good.
Yeah,
Never
no,
mind.
don't do that.
How about nothing? I just choose nothing.
Nothing.
We have had some beverages before this, so
I was gonna say,
just
this is also what we drink to combat,
yes, it helps.
combat our
Well,
illnesses.
well, thank you so much for joining us today on our podcast that's now published. Sorry, we're really excited about this.
Yay.
Also, really nervous. Also,
Yes.
I'm going around the house telling people to not talk to me like that because I'm a podcaster now.
Someone has to have a shirt made of let's go straight to Etsy. Someone's gotta have that. Don't talk to me like that. I'm a
Somebody's
podcaster.
anyway. So so today we are kind of continuing our regular episode where last time we had our episode about the doc is in, and that was Spider-Man of Paris. Go back, that was a great
Oui, oui.
episode. Oui, oui, très bien is
Très
what
bien.
they say afterwards. Très bien. um and we today are going to be talking about, we figured the next episode would be great to talk about how we maintain friendships, relationships, because we saw a great recap article from the Wall Street Journal, because obviously we're nerds, about how long it takes to form a close friendship, and that we thought that was an interesting topic. And we'll of course put the link and the link to the study around this. Um, but yeah, I thought that would be, we thought that would be a great topic to chat about and to see how long you feel like we felt close relationships and close friendships and even close workships. I think there's a lot of workships. And no, I'll start us off because then I did the math. This article said that it takes about 200 hours to create a close friendship. And I worked it out, and it said that comes to about 8.5 days. And so that's a long time. I mean, if you're seeing somebody for an hour every week is building a friendship, that's why in the beginning I think friendships seem kind of awkward, because you're trying to create these close friendships, but it's an hour at a time. And so I found that interesting. And that's why kind of Elaine and I were talking and saying that's why work friendships become so close so quickly. So you
Yeah.
literally see these people for a long time. You only need to see these people for 2 weeks, and that's it. Right?
Yeah.
2 weeks, and it's a close friendship if you're talking to them enough. So I thought that was an interesting little tidbit there. Though we were colleagues for a while, and I think our friendship really bonded through our kids, like us freaking out about our children, which I feel like that bonded us much faster, much quicker than maybe something else would have.
Yeah, and considering it took me about 200 hours to figure out how the fuck to sign up for maternity leave because no one in our the third party company that we use for short-term disability could answer any of my questions. Um, yeah, that definitely fast-tracked us from colleagues to friends because
Yeah.
work-wise, like, we never worked together. Like, we
Nope.
were in the same office space, but our trajectories and our what we do for work and the topics we cover is just not like, there's at no point shall these twain meet. So
Indeed.
so I think that's it's funny to think about, like, what was the thing that was the catalyst, right? And for us, it was me freaking out about maternity leave and you being wildly open and like, ridiculously helpful. Then I was like,
And
"Oh,
also,
I want her around."
to be fair, most of my answers were like, "What the fuck do I know?" Like, I think this was okay.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of, like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine or Arrested Development memes,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this my people. She my people.
Yeah.
She gets
Smart.
me. She gets me.
Smart.
Smart. Toy."
Tweet. Twist. Indeed, 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 indeed. Still one of the best episodes of that show. God
The best,
bless. Ah,
the best.
R.I.P.
But yeah, no, it's
R.I.P.
it's so funny too, like, even thinking about, 200 hours sounds like a long time, but then I start thinking about how long I've been out of college um, and
La
even
la la.
my
No,
friendships
close your pretty
from
little
high
ears.
school. Yeah, yes. Um, but how long we've been out of, like, high school and my friends that I've had since freshman year, I have 2 childhood friends that I've known for over 35 years. Like, 200 hours feels like nothing when you've spent your whole life with some of these people. Um, but at the same time, it sounds like a lot because it sounds like a lot of time to invest. And I think an important thing, which certainly one of my thoughts that we can get into later, is like knowing how and when to invest the time. And like, you don't have to overthink it, it just kind of happens naturally. But like, what happens in terms of when we talk about more like the maintaining side is there are going to be times where you're just kind of have to say, listen, I really I really liked this friendship. We were super close at one point. Sometimes you drift apart and then sometimes it just becomes a one-way street. And so like for me, I was thinking a lot about things like that um when this topic came up because again, 200 hours sounds like a lot and also nothing when you think about it in the context of we've known each other for 6 years now.
Yeah. It's
That's
insane,
way
and
more than 200 hours.
way more than 200 hours, but then I don't think we, like, were hanging out for 200 hours for it to be
No, no,
close
no.
either, right? I think I think there's obviously always this need and want to quantify things. We really
Yeah.
want to, like, quantify things, and for example, I have friends that I see maybe once, twice a year, yet we're really close. We talk about really deep things. We talk about really because I think motherhood, your different phases in life afford you, I think, different closeness and different types of relationships, right? So, so for example, I am not the one that's kept friends for a long time, only because I've moved from place to place, and you kind of lose before we had like WhatsApp and emails and things like that. So, and I'm usually pretty good at keeping in touch with people, but after a while, like it's really hard when you move from place to place, from school to school. So I've really had a hard time doing that, but I can't say, I can say without a doubt that every phase in my life I had really close friendships, and I wouldn't
Yeah.
say that I had 200 hours with them. I do say that it takes work to maintain friendships and workships and relationships and work relationships as well. Um, but I think when we think about time, it really is sometimes the quality of how which you are spending that time with somebody. In the article and in the study, they talk about the quality matters, right? So if you're spending 200 hours watching a movie with these people, like if you're movie buddy or your show buddy or whatever, you're not really going to be forming super close friendships with them.
Right.
But if you're talking to them, having chats, going to dinner, doing activities, I think that's a different quality of time. And I think it's okay to have different types of relationships. I had friends that were just, we went out to have fun at the time, right? So I think those are the things that you have to be okay with. I think there's also these types of articles. We have so much data, it's freaking us out a little bit. So,
Yeah, and I think like you said, like a show buddy, a movie buddy, like you're not getting to know that person. And even though you might be like you said, spending a lot of time with them, like if you're not talking to them, yeah, you might talk about the movie afterwards or whatever, but like, are you really getting to know them? And who knows? Like, again, that could be the catalyst where you move from saying, like, hey, I know we really like going to movies, but like, let's go grab coffee or let's grab a drink afterwards or dinner or whatever. And this is, I'm gonna throw out a call back to our last main episode on the third place, right? Like, going to a place like that, you can really start spending a lot of time with people. You go spend 2, 3, 4 hours hanging out at a coffee shop, at a nice dinner, at the pub, like, you could really log in some of those hours and not even, like, I don't even that's not this statistic of 200 hours is nothing I ever would have thought of before you brought it to our attention, honestly. Like, sometimes I don't even realize how close I've gotten to somebody until I've gotten really
yeah,
close to
until I'm like, until I go, oh, I should send this to somebody. And then you're like, oh crap. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then like when you realize they have the same, I think it's about like things, right? Like the second they kind of touch a part of you that you wouldn't necessarily thought of, I think. Like for example, the both of us, when we realized we have the same type of humor,
Yeah, oh,
I
yeah.
mean, that I think opened up so many so many options there that was like insane, right? Because you could send memes and you could send things and you could just joke with people and it becomes a whole different ball game.
But we
So
also
I
we
don't know.
also we also knew, like, that to I completely agree, and I think that was part of, um, like, the line crossing, and I don't mean line in, like, a bad way, actually mean it in a good right, like, you say crossing the line, that typically has a bad connotation, but with us,
Yeah.
like, we realized we had a similar sense of humor, but as we continued to push that, we realized, like, how similar our sense of humor is, and, like, you and I can send each other like, you and I will tell each other we're having, like, a real shit day, and we will send each other the most inappropriate thing where I don't know many
Inappropriate.
I don't know really any maybe outside of my husband that I could push that boundary with, like, as much as you and I can.
I
Just be
think one of our
oh,
go ahead.
the
Sorry.
amount of self-deprecation, like, I know like, I would only send you this one thing because anyone else would be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
I mean, there have been moments during the year where I was like, if this ever gets leaked,
Oh, yeah.
we're it's not going well. Like I think there's a series of things that I only send you. Like there
Yeah,
are no there's like where it gets dark because I think the algorithm finally gets it.
yeah.
And it's like, ooh, that's not
This is a dark sense of humor.
dark sense of humor.
Dark sense
No,
nothing
but
listen, guys, nothing that would get us canceled, trust me, we are very compassionate people, but, like,
sometimes.
Imma throw it out there, the submarine stuff, like, there were some memes, but it was nothing that wasn't already out in the ether, okay?
Yeah.
Alright?
But we laughed. And that's why.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
And
throw this
we
out there. I really this is, like, totally sidetracking, but, like, I really miss the Suez Canal memes from 2020. My
those were
god,
the best.
those were literal the one that talks about, like, me in the middle of the night with a cold where, like, one nostril's completely blocked, and it was a picture of the come on, deceased.
And we have so many sinus problems that spoke to us in a very
It
specific.
But then you just flip over to the other side, and then the other nostril becomes the blocked one. It's just,
Exactly.
story of my life, but yeah,
God
I totally
damn.
sidetracked us. However,
That's
but,
that's
like,
fine. The
it's
Suez Canal memes were great.
they were fucking gold. But yeah, sometimes you don't even realize, and, like, I think it's interesting to bring this up because you don't have to consciously think about how much time you're spending with somebody, right? Like, if you wanna be friends with somebody, be friends with them. And if you don't wanna be, don't be. Like,
Yeah.
I just fuck politeness. I'm stealing that from my favorite podcast, now second favorite podcast.
Yes.
Um, One of their major quotes is "fuck politeness." I have it on a pillow. Have it in my closet. I have a hand drawn picture that says, "Here's the thing, fuck everything." Um, because you don't owe it to anybody. If anybody makes you feel uncomfortable, or if you're just not vibing anymore, I think I used that word right. Is that what the kids are saying these days?
I
Um,
think so.
if you've spent a lot of time with them and someone's clearly very interested and invested in you, like you don't just have to ghost them, right? Like there are ways to go about doing it, but like you don't owe anybody anything. If it's not healthy for you, don't don't do it. Like I guarantee as much as it'll suck to be like, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but like I know we were getting along, but I just can't." Like it's like a breakup, right? Like you will feel better in the end.
Yeah, and I think that's another great episode actually that we can talk about, like
Mm,
breaking up friendships, because I don't think we've been taught how to do that. We have not been
no.
taught how to break up friendships. Like I mean, I think I've had like one or two like big friendship breakups, and they all ended so badly that like
Mm,
I didn't know how to deal with it. The other person didn't know how to deal with it. We kind of like our friendship had run its course, and didn't we weren't taught how to do it, right? Because I think there's
right.
a concept where, you're taught kind of how to break up with a person when they're in like a romantic relationship.
We
But
don't think
even
about it in
then,
the
I
same
think
context. Nobody thinks about that in the same context, you
no,
know?
and I think that's yeah, and it's I think for me, and this is my point of view, because when I like a person and I want to be friends with them, I'm very like into it. Like I'm like I'm gonna I feel like I'm a little I don't want to say too much because I hate using that, but I'm like very like into it. I'm like, I will let's go do things, let's go fret. Like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
half of the time I'm like, just if you don't like me, just tell me to fuck off. Like I will give you I will give you the space that you need whenever you need it. But I will tell you that I sometimes have that fear that I'm like a little too friendly and a little too into it, and people are like, wait, like, is she okay? Like, she's kind of weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's
We're
me. And I
all
think
weird. All a little weird.
we're all a little weird, but that's the thing, like with me. And I feel like maybe that's if a person as extroverted as me is always like, oh wait, are people so most people are probably like, hey, wait, did this person want to be friends? Like, do you have to have the talk with somebody
Yes.
that they're your friend? You know what I mean? Like, hey, are
Yeah.
we friends now? Are we close friends now? Can I do this? And I think there's always like moments where, like, again, like us, it was like being really vulnerable with each other,
Yeah.
like as we
Yeah.
were pregnant and having children, because Elaine was having her first child, I was having my second, and so it was like kind of like at similar moments, and so the vulnerability there I think was similar. And so you have like a really vulnerable moment where you start talking about really deep things, and so it becomes this kind of essence of forging a bond during a vulnerable time, and I think that
Yeah.
becomes a very different example than being a friend, like a friendship, so like in like using that term. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of times where I'm not sure, if I'm like being too overly friendly and people like don't want me to be, and like have like people like have their times and spaces. So I think that's always my struggle when I'm trying to make new friends, is like, is this too much? Like, cuz when I like somebody, I like them and I'm like, I want to hang out with this person. I
Yeah,
want to
of
do
course.
things. I'll think about them. I'll like buy them gifts. I'm like, I love buying people gifts. Like my thing.
Really good at it.
Uh, it's because it's like Jack Donaghy says, gift giving is the strongest expression of friendship. So bath salts in a mug is not it.
It's not
Damn
a
it! I should have put bath salts in yours. Damn it!
we have so many bath salts in this house.
But still, that would have been just
Hysterical.
that would have been hysterical. And like I would
Okay,
have
we have bath
posted
salts
it.
in my house because my husband is a marathon runner and I do long
Oh
distance
yeah.
cycling. I just want to specify.
So bath salts in a mug is it.
Is in for us. There'll be a box that shows up from Amazon every couple months that like I'll go to pick up, be like,
It's
"What the fuck is in this?" It's like 20 pounds of fucking Epsom salt. I'm like, "God, Jesus Christ. This shit costs $3. We can't just go up the street and get it." It's
yeah,
fine.
it's like
It's fine.
it's like but yeah, I don't know. I think that's always the key. The key is always putting yourself out there. And it's like friendship, I feel like romantic relationships. To a certain degree you expect rejection, but when you're trying to be a friend with somebody,
Yeah.
the rejection feels so much more personal. And like
Yeah. I
somebody
don't think I ever thought
doesn't
about
want to
that,
be
but
your
it's
friend.
true. Yeah.
And so, well, that's because like and I told you, I think like I've had like really like friendships kind of like blow up in my face for like not my fault or like random reasons, but it's still like very much a very personal rejection when somebody doesn't want to be
Well,
your friend and it hurts like
it
real bad.
does. And I think I know one thing that I don't just talking about this and thinking about it, I don't think I was prepared for like sometimes it's not even about whether or not they want to be friends with you or not. You just drift apart and that can happen. And there have been a couple friends of mine who I was super close to in college and just outside of it or just out of it. And like we moved or our careers are so different or we were just at like they started having kids and I hadn't even met my husband yet. Like so and none of those are bad things. It just happens and sometimes like you just drift apart with people and so when we talk about like maintaining relationships, you don't have to have like a stranglehold on every single one, right? There are certainly ones that are worth fighting for. And listen, like one of those relationships that I'm thinking about in particular, like anytime we hop on the phone, we pick up like it's nothing. Like we've seen each other every day for years. So it's not like again, it wasn't anybody's fault. It is what it is, which is a phrase that I actually hate. But in that case, it just is. Like you know, um so you don't have to like when maintaining relationships, you don't have to have this like stranglehold to try to like, no grasping at straws, right? To try to sometimes you're just gonna drift apart with people, and that's perfectly natural and it's perfectly fine if it's someone that you really, want to have in your life, great. Like maybe go the extra effort. But if it becomes a one-way street for the most part, like you can't exhaust yourself and you can't be putting one of one of the big things that my husband and I have always said from the beginning, and I've believed this before I met him, which is part of the reason we work, is relationships are not 50-50. They are 100-100. And there are days that I'm not going to be able to give 100. And so there are days where he might have to be at 120 or 150 and vice versa. But the same applies with friendships. Like there may be times where you're distracted, you're busy, and you just don't realize how much time has gone by. Like we talk about this in every episode. Life is hard. And which is why you need friends and you need people to talk to. But like don't take offense if it feels like you're being ignored because that may not necessarily be the case. And sometimes like you may just have to have a conversation with somebody. I have another, like one of my absolute closest friends. Every once in a while I'll be like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'll be like, "Look me in the eyeballs. No, 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 no. How are you?" Because I know there's this sense where I kind of feel like, like I'm grasping at straws sometimes and just have to check in and she comes right back because when I do that, she knows, she's like, "Oh shit, like I've I have not, watered the plant that is our friendship, and it's not one that I'm willing to let die." So, maintaining relationships is like it's also gonna be different in every single case. Some may not take
And
much
it's
maintaining, some may take a lot, some may take more on one day and not as much the other.
and I also think, whatever phase of life you are in,
Yeah.
also that's going to change it. For example, I do know that I stopped talking to a lot of people when I had my kids, right? Like, and it's and I'm
Happen.
and I I'm a I put effort in relationships. I know that they take time, but then there's some points where like some people I didn't really talk to that much because I would still say hi, I would still maintain it. And
Sure.
now the great thing about the technology that we have is that it doesn't take that much to maintain a friendship for like a long distance one, right? Like
Yeah.
you post things and people like message you and things like that. It's a great way to keep in contact with a lot of people that you wouldn't necessarily, right? So for me, I have a lot of friends that I know overseas, and that is a great way for me to like maintain contact. Like, what's up? Like one of, you know, our mutual Wordle friend. Like,
Yeah.
we're constantly like chatting, but he's overseas, right? So
Right.
with WhatsApp and Instagram and all these kind of Facebook and TikTok or whatever social media you use, I think there's a lot of things that you can create connections with people in ways that you don't necessarily think of and you didn't necessarily think of before. Because think about it. I mean, before we didn't have phones, we didn't have like
Oh,
stable cell phones, we didn't have texting, we didn't have all this stuff. And so you either stopped talking to people and you weren't their friends or you did, right? So I
yeah.
think there's a lot of ways to stay in touch, but realizing that the friendship might change, right? So it all depends on the phase of life you are in. Because if you're moving and you're going someplace else, you're settling yourself, you're finding a new place to live, you're kind of getting your bearings, you're not really going to be focused on, what you left, right? And then when you come back to kind of, you know, back to like your senses in a way, you'll be able to kind of think about the people you left. But I think there's a lot of ways to think about it and not be so hard on yourself. I think I one of the things that I've noticed that I do a lot is I put more effort in friendships than others. Like you were talking about one-way street. I tend to one-way street people a lot. Because I think this comes back to the fact where I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe I'm a little too much or, I kind of like maintain and then at some point I'm done." Right? Like, it'll be longer, I think, for most people, but then at some point, I'm like, "Well, this person doesn't really wanna be friends, I'm out." Right? And then it'll
Yeah.
be done. Very much my Gemini nature, when I'm over it, right?
But I think it's okay. Something you just said a couple seconds ago, I think it's okay to admit or recognize friendships out of convenience, right? Like if you move a lot, if you are really close with somebody only because you worked with them for like that's okay. Like they friendships serve purposes like you're saying at different points. Relationships in general serve different purposes at different times in your life. And I think that also relates to you talking about, when you started having kids, you stopped talking to a lot of people. And I think this will be a whole nother episode. There are just a few people that I stopped talking to after we had our son just because they didn't respect boundaries, which is a whole different thing. We can save that conversation for another
Well,
time.
and also it was COVID, so there's a whole different like, there was, like, layers to that, right? It wasn't just, "Oh, they didn't respect boundaries." There was, there layers upon layers to that one, so
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Um, and yeah, I don't know, like the convenience thing, like somebody that you go clubbing with or somebody that you go to, I think college friends were like that, right? There would be like one or two that were like really good friends, but then the rest would be like you're going out to parties with them or you going they
Right.
knew people and all that. So I think that um that is, friend, like, again, it's we made this podcast, I think, because we realized the intricacies of how connecting to people and how maintaining friendships and work relationships and all that is hard. It's
It's
hard
exhausting.
for it's exhausting. It's why we drink.
Yep.
It's just like, you know, and it's like your family relationships take time. Oh, we can have another episode. Like, um, and I think that becomes a whole slew of just intensities that you don't realize, and they give you a lot, right? Social, like, we need human connection to survive. I mean,
Oh,
your
yeah.
brain needs it, your heart needs it. I mean, there's so many studies around that the second you start, not having close relationships, your health literally deteriorates. You get higher blood pressure, more heart problems. And so there is a thing about it physically having a thing. But that doesn't mean you need like 26 friends. You can
Right.
have one or two really good friends and still sustain.
Absolutely.
If only life were so easy. If only. But as Glenn Doyle says, is that Glenn Doyle? Glennon Doyle?
Glennon Doyle. Glennon Doyle, yeah.
Glennon Doyle says we can do the hard thing.
Yes, we can. Like
Yes, we can.
podcasting. It's
Yes.
just hard.
Let's just take a second here to just explain how proud we are of ourselves that we did this,
Yes.
that we are online now. And please, again, now you can email us and be like,
Say,
this is awesome.
do we like finally start working in our Instagram handle and our email address?
Yes.
Would you like to do the honors, Linda, of announcing what those are?
Yes. So I'll give you the Instagram handle. I'll do the email. So our email is interesting.af.ladies@gmail.com. Because I know that one. I have to type that one a lot because I constantly forget our passwords.
Oh my God. Thank God for Google Drive. Seriously.
Thank goodness. Trying to see here. Um, do, 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 do. And then our Instagram handle would be, I think it's interesting.af.ladies as well, right?
No, it's interesting underscore AF
Underscore. See,
underscore ladies.
I now see it. There you go. See, that's why you're just, there you go. So comment, chat, email, tell us what you think. And I think, we're really excited about next year. I think we're gonna record. No, this is our last one for 2024, I believe.
I'm still processing 2020. What the fuck?
Oh, fuck. I
What
mean,
the fuck?
and everybody, and I mean this with the ferocity of
A
the
thousand
lion
suns.
and a thousand suns, and the just anger that Scar had to like push Mufasa off that cliff. Nobody say 2025 is your year.
No,
Please,
no. Tiptoe.
just
We're just gonna
just
tiptoe in. Like just
tiptoe
peer around
in.
the corner. Like, hey, what you got? What you doing?
Hey,
How you doing?
we're
Can we check in
just
first?
gonna. It's
How you
thin
feeling?
ice. We're gonna step in very quick, quietly. Look where
Like,
our
yeah.
steps are going.
Nobody's kicking the door down January 1st. We're just gonna like little massage down the back. Be like, hey, let's just ease into this, okay?
Ease into this.
Like just little tippy toe, little baby steps.
In here, so we don't lose our collective mind next year.
I
'Cause I
feel
don't
like mine's
think
gone.
I don't think I have any left. And
No,
I think it needs a year to like reprocess and like actually give me some sort of
I just want one precedented time. Like,
Yes.
just some precedented
Precedented times.
please. Fuck.
But I mean, it's probably not gonna be I don't know if you saw your latest alert, but there was like this hacking thing.
I just no. No. Been too busy watching
Uh,
all 3 Deadpools.
that's probably was the third one good?
Oh, yeah. Oh, there is a Ben Affleck dig that you are gonna love. I'm leaving it at that.
Is
I'm
it
not even gonna tell you who says
all
it. It
right.
is perfection. Perfection.
Is it streaming already?
Oh, yeah, Disney Plus.
All right, done. Though we before we close out for this year, we know that we're next episode we're going to do um the first two episodes. It's The Doc is In, and the first two episodes of This Is a Robbery, which
Yes.
I have to say, I said, what?
I cannot wait to come up like, I haven't started our what the fuck meter graphic yet, but it's coming, and I'm so excited to launch that on Instagram. So, on
What?
Instagram, we've started posting. We'll have our regular little snippets on our regular episodes. We have, like, a separate logo for The Doc is In. Very excited. We will
Yes.
show the covers, we will show some pictures, but we are going to put together Linda is going to have her own what the fuck meter graphic. And so the last photo of every post will be that. So I cannot wait to
God,
hear
God bless.
your
And I know in a couple of episodes ago we said that we were going to do back to back, but there has been a development in our plans where we were going to be physically together
yeah,
for the podcast recording after this one with The Doc is In. So it might be a regular episode, or I don't know what we're going to do because we might be
we'll just
yeah,
roll the dice with that one.
just indeed. And if anybody understands that, then remember we like a little bit more conversation and less action. I know.
I hate
I've
Elvis.
been
That's a hot
I've
take
been
that I have.
listening. Oh my god.
I don't know
Then
this.
I will not let you know that I've been listening to a lot of Elvis
That's
recently.
okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'll tell the story someday of, like, just how he's haunted my life.
I'm sorry that he's haunted your life. My
Mentally,
mom,
emotionally, physically.
I'm so sorry because the first movies that I remember, so I'm from a country that is not the US and not Europe. And we used to watch movies projected on walls, and we
I
watched all manner of Elvis movies.
my grandpa, my Italian New York grandpa was way into Elvis movies. So I've seen all of them. I've seen all the Elvis movies. I've seen every John Wayne movie under the sun.
Uh,
Um, but to long
I kind of know where this is going. I feel
well, but long and short of it, my dad thought it would be hilarious on mornings where I had to wake up early and I didn't. He would come into my room with a boombox. Children, look it up. Um, and he would blast Elvis music to wake me up. So, like
okay.
classic conditioning. I'm like Pavlov's
Then
dogs. I hear an Elvis song and I'm like, I literally want to crawl out of my skin.
I get
So,
that. Then I get that
yeah,
he was
it
used
has
for
become a
evil.
bit it has become a bit like every birthday. I have an insane amount of Elvis collector's items because every year for my birthday, my parents get me something, including my 18th birthday, where my mom put a life-size cardboard cutout in the halls of my high school of Elvis in a gold suit. And then had the principal call me down to the office so I could see said Elvis cutout in the middle of the hallway. Thank God I went to an all-girls school because I would have been deathly embarrassed in front of the boys.
I w- I would accept your opinion on Elvis, and I will never speak of him again.
No, you can speak of him. Just know I'm not a fan.
I respect boundaries.
Yes, you do. And I appreciate you for it.
Yes. Well, on that end, on that note, so we'll do This Is a Robbery, the first two episodes of that for next podcast. And dear listeners, dear listeners, I have all the words all the time. I have almost no words. I don't know what I'm going to say during the next episode what?
It's
Cuz
gonna be good.
what? Um well, thank you all for listening, and please share, like, or whatever people do with these podcasts. Do they like email them to people? I don't know. Whatever you kids are
Like
doing,
follow, subscribe, is that what it is? I don't know.
like, follow, subscribe.
Yeah.
Please. And of course, as always, let us know if you have any topics that you want to discuss. And
Yeah.
I will let Elaine close it out.
Stay interesting.